The bistro on Fifth Avenue smelled like espresso and burnt sugar. Maya Torres sat by the window, laptop open, headphones in, doing what she always did on Thursday afternoons, translating Italian contract law into English while the world moved past her in a blur of designer coats and expensive briefcases. She was good at her job. Exceptionally good. Which was why Dante Morty paid her 3 times the market rate to translate documents he never explained, for businesses he never named, with deadlines that suggested urgency she didn't question. For 18 months, she'd been his invisible translator. They'd never met in person. Everything came through encrypted emails, wire transfers to an offshore account, and NDAs so thick they could double as body armor. Maya didn't ask questions. The money was too good, and her student loans were too high. She was halfway through a property acquisition contract when someone sat down across from her. Maya looked up, annoyed. The bistro had a dozen empty tables. This man, tall, blonde, expensive suit, perfect teeth, had chosen to violate her personal space. "I'm sorry," Maya said, pulling out one earbud. "Were you waiting for this table?" "No." His smile was practiced, charming in a way that felt rehearsed. "I was waiting for an excuse to talk to you." Maya's internal alarm system activated immediately. "I'm working." "I can see that." He gestured to her laptop. "Legal documents in Italian, that's impressive. Are you a lawyer?" "Translator." Maya closed her laptop partway. "And I really do need to work." "5 minutes," he said. "My name is Lucas Brennan. I'm an investment banker. I've seen you here 3 Thursdays in a row, and I finally worked up the courage to introduce myself." There it was, the approach disguised as flattery. The confidence that assumed she'd be flattered instead of uncomfortable. "That's very nice," Maya said carefully, "but I'm not interested." "In coffee?" Lucas pulled out a business card and set it on the table. "Just coffee, no pressure. I know a great place in Tribeca. They import beans from Ethiopia that'll change your life." Maya looked at the card. Lucas Brennan, Senior Associate, Whitmore Capital Group. The address was in Midtown, 3 blocks from the building where she occasionally picked up physical documents from Dante's assistant. "I'll think about it," Maya said, which was her polite way of saying never going to happen. "I hope you do." Lucas stood, still smiling. "Enjoy your work, Maya." He walked away before she could ask how he knew her name. Maya watched him through the window as he climbed into a black town car. The driver didn't look like a regular hired car service. He looked like security. Military posture, scanning the street before opening the door. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she remembered that Dante sometimes called from burner phones when something urgent came up. "Hello? Who was that?" The voice was low, controlled, with the faintest trace of an Italian accent that Dante never fully suppressed no matter how many years he'd lived in New York. Maya's heart kicked against her ribs. "Mr. Morty? Who was that?" She looked around the bistro. No one was paying attention to her, but somewhere someone was watching. "A man named Lucas Brennan," Maya said quietly. "He approached me. I told him I wasn't interested. He sat at your table for 4 minutes and 20 seconds. You smiled twice. You didn't immediately tell him to leave." Maya's mouth went dry. "Are you having me followed? I'm protecting my investment." Dante's voice was perfectly calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. "You translate documents worth millions. You have access to information that could destroy me. Did you think I wouldn't monitor your movements? You're watching me right now." It wasn't a question. The bistro has 3 security cameras, one behind the counter, one near the door, one covering the window seating. You're visible in 2 of them, and before you ask, yes, I have access to the feeds. Maya felt violated and furious, and something else she couldn't name. "That's illegal. So is most of what I do." Dante paused. "Who is Lucas Brennan, Maya? And why is an investment banker from Whitmore Capital interested in a freelance translator?" "I don't know. He said he'd seen me here before." Whitmore Capital is a front. They launder money for a Russian organization that's been trying to establish territory in New York for 2 years. Dante's voice dropped lower. "Lucas Brennan isn't a banker. He's a recruiter. And you're not a random woman he happened to notice in a coffee shop." The fear that had been simmering in Maya's chest ignited into full panic. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you've been targeted, and I'm saying you need to leave that bistro right now and go to the address I'm about to send you. I'm not going anywhere until you explain." "Maya." The way he said her name stopped her mid-sentence. "I've kept you at arm's length for 18 months because I didn't want you exposed to my world, but that world just walked up to your table and sat down. So you can either trust me and do what I say, or you can stay there and find out what Lucas Brennan really wants." Her phone buzzed with an incoming text, an address in Chelsea, nothing else. "There's a car outside," Dante continued. Black Mercedes, New York plates. The driver's name is Marco. He works for me. He'll bring you to me and I'll explain everything. Maya looked through the window. The Mercedes was idling at the curb 20 feet away. How long have you been watching me? She asked quietly. Since the day you started working for me. No apology, no guilt, just honesty. I don't take chances with people who have access to my operations. Maya should have been outraged, should have told him to go to hell, should have walked out and never looked back. Instead, she packed up her laptop, left cash on the table for her coffee, and walked out to the Mercedes. Marco didn't speak. Just opened the door, waited for her to get in, then drove. The building in Chelsea looked like a boutique hotel. Marble lobby, doorman in a crisp uniform, elevator that required a key card to operate. Marco handed her the card. 40th floor, he's waiting. The elevator ride felt like descending into something she couldn't escape. Maya watched the numbers climb, 30, 35, 38, 40, and tried to steady her breathing. The doors opened directly into a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Hudson River. Furniture that looked expensive but not ostentatious. Art on the walls that Maya recognized from auction catalogs she'd translated. And standing by the windows, silhouetted against the afternoon light, was Dante Morty. He was taller than she'd imagined, broader through the shoulders, dark hair slightly too long, curling at the collar of his white shirt. No jacket, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that suggested he didn't just sit behind a desk all day. When he turned to face her, Maya felt the impact like a physical thing. He was beautiful. Dangerously so, sharp cheekbones, straight nose, mouth that looked cruel until he spoke, and then it just looked certain. But it was his eyes that pinned her in place. Dark brown, almost black, with an intensity that made her feel exposed. Maya Tours, he said. Finally. You've been watching me for 18 months, Maya said, anger overriding fear. This hardly counts as finally. Dante's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. Fair point. Sit. I'll stand. Then you'll be standing for a while because this conversation is going to take time. Maya stayed on her feet out of spite. Dante didn't seem bothered. He walked to a bar cart and poured 2 glasses of something amber. I don't drink during the day, Maya said. You will after I explain what's happening. He set both glasses on the coffee table and sat in one of the leather chairs. Lucas Brennan approached you because his organization has been tracking my operations. They know I use a translator. They don't know who, but they've been surveilling businesses connected to me, looking for patterns. You were identified 3 weeks ago. Maya's legs felt weak. She sat. How? You picked up documents from my office building. They have cameras on every entrance. They ran facial recognition, tracked you to your apartment, your usual coffee shops, your routine. Then they sent Lucas to make contact. Why? Because if they can flip you, turn you into an asset, they gain access to my entire operation. Contract terms, property holdings, financial structures, everything I've built becomes vulnerable. Maya picked up one of the glasses and drank. Whiskey, expensive. It burned going down but steadied her hands. I can't help them, she said. I don't understand half of what I translate. It's legal terminology, property transfers. I have no idea what it actually means. You understand more than you think. Dante leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Every address you translate is a location I own. Every date is a transaction I've completed. Every name is someone in my network. You could piece together my entire operation if you wanted to. I don't want to. I know. Dante's expression softened fractionally. Which is why I've let you remain invisible, why I've kept this professional and distant. But that distance just became a liability. Maya set the glass down. What are you saying? I'm saying you can't go back to your apartment. You can't go back to that bistro. You can't maintain your normal routine, because Lucas Brennan isn't going to take no for an answer, and the organization he works for doesn't ask twice. So what I just hide, you stay close to me. Dante's voice was firm. Where I can see you, where they can't get to you without going through me first. You want me to move in here? Maya's voice rose. With you, a man I've never met. You've worked for me for 18 months. You know my voice, my patterns, the way I think. We're not strangers, Maya. We've just never been in the same room. It was such a surreal statement that Maya almost laughed. This is insane. This is survival. Dante stood and walked to the windows. I've built an empire in this city. Real estate, shipping, import-export. Some of it legal, most of it not, and I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. He turned to look at her. You've been mine since the day you signed that first NDA and started translating documents that could send me to prison. You just didn't know it yet. Maya moved into the guest bedroom that afternoon. It was larger than her entire apartment in Queens, with a view of the Hudson that made her feel like she was floating above the city. Her clothes looked ridiculous in the massive walk-in closet. Her toiletries barely filled one shelf in the marble bathroom. Dante had disappeared into his office immediately after showing her the room, giving her space she both appreciated and resented. She unpacked slowly, trying to process the fact that her life had fundamentally changed in the span of 3 hours. Her phone rang. "Courtney." "I can't talk long," Maya said. "Where are you? I stopped by your apartment. Your landlord said you took an emergency leave." "I did, work thing. I'm staying in the city for a while." "Maya, what's going on? You sound weird." "I'm fine." "I promise, I'll explain when I can." She ended the call before Courtney could push harder. The lie tasted bitter, but the truth was impossible to explain. That night, they ate dinner in silence. Dante had ordered Thai food from a restaurant that apparently didn't deliver unless you were someone who mattered. They sat at opposite ends of a dining table that could seat 12. "This is ridiculous," Maya finally said. "We're sitting here like strangers at a business dinner." "We are strangers," Dante replied. "Professionally intimate, personally unknown." "Then let's change that." Maya stood and carried her plate to the seat directly across from him. "You said we're not strangers, prove it." Dante studied her for a long moment, then he set down his fork. "What do you want to know?" "Everything, where you're from, how you built this, why you do what you do." "That's a long story." "I'm not going anywhere." So he told her. Born in Naples, moved to Brooklyn when he was 8. Father was a dock worker who died in an industrial accident that wasn't an accident. Mother cleaned houses until her hands were raw. Dante learned early that the world was divided into people who took and people who survived being taken from. He started small, running errands for men his mother warned him to avoid, translating for immigrants who didn't speak English. By 20, he was facilitating deals. By 25, he owned his first building. By 30, he'd built a network that stretched from New York to Rome. "You're not what I expected," Maya said when he finished. "What did you expect? Someone colder, more," she searched for the word, "monstrous." "I am a monster," Dante said quietly. "I've done things that would horrify you, hurt people who threaten what's mine, made decisions that keep me awake some nights. But you protect your people. Always." "Why me?" Maya asked. "You could have hired any translator. Someone already in your world, someone who understood the risks." "Because you're brilliant," Dante leaned forward. "And because when I listened to you on our first phone call 18 months ago, explaining the nuances between Italian contract law and American legal terminology, I heard someone who sees patterns others miss. I needed that mind working for me, not against me. And now I need you safe." His eyes held hers. "Which has nothing to do with business." The air between them changed, charged with something Maya couldn't name but felt in her chest, her throat, the pulse at her wrists. "This is a bad idea," she whispered. "Terrible," Dante agreed, but he didn't look away. The moment broke when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his entire demeanor shifted. "I have to take this." He disappeared into his office. Maya sat alone at the table and wondered what she'd just agreed to. Over the next week, Maya learned the rhythms of Dante's world. He left early, returned late. Sometimes he came back with tension in his shoulders that didn't fade until he poured whiskey and stood at the windows, staring at the city like he was daring it to challenge him. She worked from the penthouse, translating documents that arrived encrypted and left the same way. But now she understood what she was reading. Property acquisitions that were really territorial expansions. Corporate filings that disguised money movement. Legal language that built empires in the shadows. On the 5th day, Dante came home at noon. "Get dressed, something nice, we have a meeting." "What kind of meeting?" "The kind where you need to be seen with me." An hour later, they walked into a restaurant in Tribeca that didn't have a sign on the door. The kind of place that existed for people who didn't need menus because the chef knew what they wanted. They were seated at a corner table. Maya wore a dress Dante had sent to the penthouse that morning, black, elegant, expensive. He wore a suit that probably cost more than 3 months of her old rent. "Why am I here?" Maya asked quietly. "Because Lucas Brennan has been making inquiries. He knows you didn't go back to your apartment. He knows you disappeared. I need him to know you're under my protection. So I'm bait. You're a statement." Dante's hand covered hers on the table. The touch was electric. "Trust me." 20 minutes later, Lucas Brennan walked in. He didn't look surprised to see them. He looked pleased. He approached the table without hesitation. "Mr. Morty, what a coincidence." "There are no coincidences in this city," Dante said coldly, "and you're interrupting my lunch." Lucas's eyes shifted to Maya. "Hello again, Mr. Brennan." Maya's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "I've been trying to reach you," Lucas said to her, ignoring Dante entirely. "You disappeared, I was worried." "She's fine," Dante said. "She's with me now." "Is that what this is?" Lucas's smile was sharp. Because it looks like coercion. It looks like protection, Maya interjected, and I don't need you to worry about me. Maya's made her choice, Dante said. His hand tightened on hers. You should respect it. Lucas studied them both. Then he smiled wider. Of course, my apologies for intruding. He turned to leave, then paused. Enjoy your lunch, both of you. The moment he was gone, Maya pulled her hand free. That was a performance. That was necessary. Dante's jaw was tight. He needed to see that you're not accessible. That getting to you means going through me. And what happens when he decides to go through you? Then he learns why people don't challenge me. 2 days later, everything changed. Maya was working in the penthouse office when Dante burst through the door. His face was thunderous. Pack a bag, we're leaving. What happened? Lucas made his move, not against you, against your mother. Maya's blood turned to ice. What? They sent someone to her house in Arizona. Posed as a gas company inspector. My people intercepted him before he made contact, but the message is clear. If they can't get to you directly, they'll use leverage. Maya's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. Her mother answered on the second ring, cheerful and oblivious. Sweetheart, I wasn't expecting to hear from you today. Mom, I need you to do something for me. Don't ask questions, just trust me. She heard the shift in her mother's voice, the recognition of real fear. What's wrong? There are going to be some people who come to your house. Security. They're going to stay with you for a while. Let them. Maya, please, Mom, I promise I'll explain everything, but right now I need you to trust me. Silence, then, okay, I trust you. Maya ended the call and looked at Dante. Thank you for protecting her. I protect what's mine, he said again, but this time it sounded different, less like possession and more like promise. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She wandered out to the living room at 2 a.m. and found Dante at the windows, whiskey in hand. Can't sleep either, she asked. I sleep better when I know all my people are safe. Right now, I don't. Maya walked to stand beside him. The city stretched out below them, a million lights burning against the dark. I'm sorry, Dante said quietly, for pulling you into this, for making you a target. You didn't make me a target. I chose to work for you. I chose to take your money. I chose to translate documents I knew were questionable. She looked at him. This is as much my responsibility as yours. You could still walk away. I could set you up somewhere they'd never find you. New identity, new city, new life. Is that what you want? Dante finally turned to face her. In the dim light, his features were softer, more vulnerable than she'd ever seen them. What I want is impossible. Try me. I want you safe. I want you here. I want to stop pretending that you're just an employee I'm protecting out of necessity. His voice dropped lower. I want you, Maya, and that terrifies me more than any threat Lucas Brennan could ever pose. Maya's breath caught. Don't say anything you'll regret when this is over and you can think clearly. I am thinking clearly. She stepped closer. For the first time in 18 months, everything makes sense. The reason I never walked away from this job. The reason I answered your calls at midnight. The reason I trusted you enough to get in that car. Maya, I want this too, want you, even though it's complicated and dangerous and probably the worst decision I've ever made. Dante's control finally cracked. He closed the distance between them, his hand cupping her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. This changes everything. I know. He kissed her, not gently, not tentatively. Like a man who'd been holding back for 18 months and finally had permission to stop. Maya melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, became more urgent, 18 months of tension and longing compressed into this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante pressed his forehead to hers. No going back from this, he whispered. Good, Maya said. I'm done going back. The charity gala was the following week. Some foundation Dante supported publicly while running his private empire in the shadows. Maya wore emerald green silk and felt like an imposter among the Manhattan elite who drank champagne and bid absurd amounts on auction items. Dante kept her close, his hand on her lower back, guiding her through conversations with people whose names she recognized from Forbes covers. She played the part, charming, intelligent, carefully mysterious about her connection to Dante Morty. Then Lucas Brennan appeared. He looked different than he had at the bistro, more polished, more dangerous. He approached while Dante was momentarily pulled away by a business associate. Maya, you look stunning. Mr. Brennan, she kept her voice neutral. I'm surprised to see you here. I'm a patron of the arts and of beautiful women who translate Italian. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Dance with me? I don't think. One dance, then I'll disappear. You have my word. Maya glanced toward Dante, who was still in conversation but watching her with predatory focus. She made a decision. Better to control this interaction than let Lucas create a scene. One dance. Lucas led her to the floor. His hand settled on her waist with presumptuous familiarity. They moved to the orchestra's waltz, surrounded by other couples. "You're making a mistake," Lucas said quietly. "Dante Morty will destroy you eventually. It's what he does. You don't know him? I know men like him. They consume everything they touch. You think you're special? You're not. You're useful. When you stop being useful, you'll become a liability. And you're offering what? Protection from a man who's already protecting me? I'm offering freedom." Lucas's grip tightened. "Walk away with me right now. My people will relocate you somewhere he'll never find you. You keep your money, your life, your mother stays safe." "Why do you care?" "Because Dante Morty has built an empire by taking what doesn't belong to him. I'm here to dismantle it, and you're the key." Before Maya could respond, Lucas pulled her closer and kissed her. It lasted maybe 3 seconds. Maya shoved him away immediately, her hand connecting with his face in a sharp slap that turned heads across the ballroom. "Don't ever touch me again," she said loudly enough for nearby couples to hear. Then she turned and walked away, leaving Lucas on the dance floor with a red mark blooming on his cheek. She found Dante immediately. He was no longer in conversation. He stood frozen 20 feet away, his expression absolutely murderous. "We're leaving," he said. His voice was too calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. "Dante, now." They left the gala in silence. The car ride back to the penthouse was thick with tension Maya didn't know how to diffuse. The moment they were inside, Dante turned on her. "Did you want that?" "What? No, of course not. I pushed him away." "He kissed you, in front of half of Manhattan's elite." "In front of me?" Dante's hands were shaking. "He put his mouth on you." "Dante, I didn't—" "I watched it happen." His voice broke. "I was across the room. I saw him pull you close. I saw him kiss you. And for 3 seconds I couldn't move, couldn't think. All I could see was red." Maya understood then. This wasn't anger about a kiss. This was terror about losing control. She crossed to him and took his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. "I didn't want it. I don't want him. I want you, only you. He touched you. And I slapped him in front of everyone. I made it clear whose side I'm on." She rose on her toes, bringing her face close to his. "I'm yours, Dante, completely. Nothing Lucas Brennan does will change that." Something in him finally snapped. Not toward violence, but toward need. He kissed her with desperate intensity, backing her against the wall, his body pressing against hers like he needed to erase every trace of Lucas's touch. Maya matched his urgency, her hands in his hair, pulling him closer, telling him without words that she was here, she was his, she wasn't going anywhere. When they finally came up for air, Dante's voice was raw. "I love you. I've loved you since the first time you corrected my Italian pronunciation on a phone call and didn't realize you were talking to your boss." Maya laughed through tears she didn't know she'd been crying. "I love you too, even though you're impossible and possessive and watch me through security cameras." "I'm going to destroy him," Dante said quietly. "Lucas Brennan and everyone he works for. I'm going to dismantle their entire operation. Then let me help." The next morning, Maya sat at Dante's dining table surrounded by documents. Not contracts this time, intelligence reports, intercepted communications, financial records his team had compiled on the Russian organization. "They communicate in code," Dante's security chief explained. "Mix of Russian, English, Italian. We've been trying to decode it for weeks." Maya studied the pages, saw patterns immediately. "This isn't code, it's legal terminology being misused. They're hiding operational details inside what looks like business correspondence." She spent 3 days cross-referencing every document, built spreadsheets, traced linguistic patterns, and slowly the Russian operation revealed itself. "Here," she said, pushing a summary across to Dante. "This is their entire New York network. Properties they control, people they've compromised, money routes, shipment schedules, everything." Dante read in silence. When he looked up, his expression was one of awe. "How?" "I understand patterns, I understand language, and I understand your operation well enough to recognize when someone's trying to copy it." Maya leaned back. "They're not as clever as they think they are." What happened next unfolded over 2 weeks. Dante's organization moved against the Russians with surgical precision. Properties seized, assets frozen. Key players arrested on charges that would stick because Maya had translated evidence that held up in court. Lucas Brennan disappeared. Some said he fled back to Moscow. Others whispered he'd been dealt with more permanently. Maya didn't ask. 6 months later, Maya had her own office in Dante's building. 42nd floor, windows overlooking the city, a desk where she translated and strategized in equal measure. She wasn't just his translator anymore. She was his partner in business, in life. She was reviewing a contract when her assistant buzzed. "Ms. Torres, there's a Lucas Brennan here to see you." Maya's blood went cold, then hot. Send him in. Lucas walked through her door looking diminished. No expensive suit, no confident smile, just a man who'd lost and knew it. I wanted to apologize, he said. For everything. For approaching you, for the kiss, for threatening your mother. Why are you really here? Maya asked coldly. Because I'm leaving the country, and I wanted you to know that what I said at the gala was wrong. You're not just useful to him, he loves you. Anyone with eyes can see it. I know. He would have burned the entire city down if I'd hurt you. I know that too, Lucas nodded. You chose well, Maya, better than I did. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, you were always too smart for this game. I should have known better than to try. When he was gone, Maya texted Dante, Lucas just visited. It's handled. 3 minutes later, Dante walked into her office. Are you okay? I'm perfect. She stood and walked into his arms. He apologized, he's leaving. Should I be worried that you handled him yourself? You should be proud. Maya looked up at him. I'm not the same woman you pulled out of that bistro 6 months ago. I'm stronger, smarter. I know how to protect myself. You terrify me, Dante said. In the best possible way. Good, she kissed him. Someone needs to keep you on your toes. That night, Dante came home with a bouquet, not roses, Italian peonies, massive blooms in shades of pink and white that smelled like spring. What's this? Maya asked. Roses are what desperate men give women they don't know. Dante set the flowers in her hands. Peonies are what a man gives a woman he knows deserves something better. Maya buried her face in the blooms and smiled. You're getting soft, Morty. Only for you, he said. Only for you. Before we end today's story, I want to say thank you. Thank you for staying with Maya and Dante through every twist, every moment of danger, every second of tension. If this story reminded you that sometimes the most dangerous thing we can do is trust someone completely, then it did exactly what it was meant to do. If you enjoyed this journey, please consider sharing it. Because sometimes the best stories are the ones that show us love isn't always safe, but it's always worth it. Thank you for listening.